Today, we are going to be looking at parallel and perpendicular lines. So let's first look at parallel lines. Parallel lines have the same slope. They never intersect. And they are equidistant from each other. So we have a line here and our second line here. The slope is the same. They never intersect. So this line will never touch this line, and this line will never touch that line. And they're equidistant from each other. So what that means is this distance is the same as this distance and the same as this distance. It's always going to be that same distance in between both of those lines. So let's look at some examples. We have y equals 2x plus 5 and y equals 2x minus 3. Remember, our slope intercept form is y equals mx plus b, where m is your slope. So here, it's already in slope intercept form. So we have 2 as our slope for the first line and 2 as our slope of the second line. So our slope here is 2. Now the next one. We have 4x plus y equals 2 and 4x plus y equals 4. Here, this is in our standard form. So, an easy way to know of slope in standard form is we're going to take negative a and divide it by b. So that's a shortcut. You can subtract over the x and then divide by your y. It will give you the same answer. So here is our a, our b is 1, and our c is 2. So we're going to take negative a, so negative 4, and divide it by 1. So negative 4 over 1 is negative 4. Let's see if it's the same thing here. It is. We have negative 4 over 1. So our slope here is negative 4. Let's look at the next one. We have 2x minus 3y equals 6 and 2x minus 3y equals 5. So let's do the shortcut method. And let's take negative a, so negative 2, and divide it by our b, which is negative 3. Negative and negative make a positive, so we should get 2/3 for our slope. Let's check it down here. Negative a divided by b, which is negative 3. We get the same thing. Okay, now we are going to write the equation of the line parallel to the given line that goes through the given point. So we need to find a line that is parallel to this line that goes through this point. So we are going to start off with our formula. Y equals mx plus b. Slope intercept form. We need to know our slope. So our slope for this line, our slope is 2. So we're going to substitute in 2 for our m. We are given an x and we are given a y. So substitute that in. We're going to substitute in negative 1 for our x. We're going to substitute in 2 for our y. So let's do that. We have 2 equals our slope times -1 plus b. Now let's solve it. We are solving for b. So 2 times -1 is -2. Now we need a b by itself, so we have a -2, so we have to do the opposite and add 2 to both sides. Cancels out, gives us b to equal 4. So now we go back up to our formula. So we're going to have y equals, slope is the same, and we know our slope is 2. Then we have x, and then we're going to add in our plus 4 of that b we just found. So this line is parallel to our original line. So let's graph the two. So let's do our first line. We're going to graph. So y equals 2x minus 3. When we graph it, we're going to start with -3. Go down to -3. Put a point. Now we have a slope of 2. Up 2 to the right 1. Up 2 to the right 1. Let's draw that line. Add your arrows. Now let's graph the second line. So we're at 4 as our y-intercept. And we have a slope of 2. So we're going to go up 2, which you can't do over 1. So instead we're going to go down 2 to the left 1. Now let's graph it. Add your arrows. And there we go. We graphed our two parallel lines. As you'll see, these lines will never touch. Okay, let's look at the next one. So we have y equals -3x minus 2, and we have the point -1, -2. We are finding a line that's parallel, so we're going to have the same slope. So our slope here is -3. So we're going to substitute that in. We're going to substitute it into our formula, y equals mx plus b. So our slope is -3. Now we are going to substitute our x and our y. So our y we have is -2. We have -2 equals -3 times our x, and our x is -1. We're going to add our b. We don't know what our b is. So we're going to do -3 times -1. That gives us a +3. Bring down everything else as is. Now we need b by itself, so we're going to subtract 3 from both sides. So -2 minus 3 is -5, so our b is -5. So we're going to substitute it into our formula. Y equals our slope from our original equation was -3. And then our b, so -5. So that is a line that is parallel to our first line that was given. So now let's graph it. So let's start with our first line. So we're going to start at -2. Then we have a slope of -3. So down 3 to the right 1. Or up 3 to left 1. Connect the lines, or connect the dots to create your line. And don't forget your arrows. Okay, let's draw the second line. So we're going to go down to -5, put a dot, and then we're going to go up 3 to left 1. And then we're going to draw our line. As you can see, again, this will never intersect. They are parallel lines. Okay, I want you to try the next one. Come back and check your work once you are done. Okay, let's check our work. We have the equation 2x minus 3y equals 6. So let's find our slope. Before, when we were finding our slope, I showed you the shortcut. Let's do this the long way to review how to change this from standard form into slope intercept form. So we're going to start with our equation. 2x minus 3y equals 6. I'm going to subtract over our 2x from both sides. Cancels out. We have negative 3y equaling negative 2x plus 6. Divide everything by negative 3. So we have the equation y equals negative 2 over negative 3 gives us a positive 2/3 x, and then positive 6 divided by negative 3 gives us a negative 2. So here, our slope is negative 2/3. So now let's find our b when we're given our point and our slope. So we have y equals mx plus b, and our y we have is 3. Our slope is 2/3. Our x is 0 plus b. 2/3 times 0 cancels out, so we're left with 3 equaling b. Now let's write our new equation. So we're going to have y equals our slope 2/3 x plus b, what we just found. Now let's graph our first equation. Our first equation that we were given was in slope intercept, or was in standard form. We cannot graph that. We need to have it in our slope intercept form. So let's start at negative 2. Now we have a slope of 2/3, so up 2 to the right 3. We're down 2 to the left 3. Draw your line. And draw your arrows. Now let's graph our new line. So we're going to start at 3. And then we have a slope of 2/3, so up 2 to right 3. We're down 2 to left 3. Now draw it. And your arrows. So that is graphing, or solving and then graphing parallel lines. Let's look at the second half, so perpendicular lines. So perpendicular lines have negative or opposite reciprocals. And they create a 90-degree angle. So the slope of this line and the slope of this line are opposite reciprocals. So what that means is one's going to be positive and one's going to be negative. And the fraction is going to flip of the slope. So when that happens, it creates a 90-degree angle. So we have a slope of 5. We need the perpendicular slope of that. So 5 is positive, it's going to become negative. And then think of 5 over 1 as a fraction. If we flip that, we get negative 1 over 5 as our slope. Here we have negative 3/2. So instead of negative, it's going to be a positive. Flip it 2/3. And then negative 10 is going to become a positive 1/10. And then lastly, 1/4 is going to become a negative 4. So now let's get into writing the equations of a perpendicular line to the given line that goes through the given points. So our slope of our line, our slope is 2. Our perpendicular slope, which this means perpendicular, is negative 1/2. So we're going to do the same thing that we did before. We're going to take our equation, y equals mx plus b. Substitute in our x and our y. So our x here is negative 2, and our y is 3. We're going to substitute that in. So our y is 3. Our slope we found was negative 1/2. We're going to multiply that by our x, which is negative 2. And we are going to solve for b. So we have negative 1/2 times negative 2. Negative and negative make a positive, so we get a positive 1. Bring down everything else as is. We need to get b by itself, so we're going to subtract 1 from both sides. And we get b to equal 2. Now we need to write our new equation. So we're going to write y equals, we're going to take the perpendicular slope, negative 1/2 x, and then our b, plus 2. So this equation that we just found is perpendicular to our original equation. So let's graph this. Let's graph our first equation. We're going to start at negative 3. And then we're going to do our slope of 2. So we're going to rise 2 and go to the right 1. We're going to go up 2 to the right 1. Draw that line. And don't forget your arrows. Now we are going to graph our second line. So we're going to start at 2. And then we have a slope of negative 1/2. So we're going to go down 1 to the right 2. Down 1 to the right 2. And then we're going to draw that line. Oops. we cannot forget our arrows. And as you can see, these two lines intersect at a 90-degree angle. So their slopes are opposite reciprocals of each other. Okay, let's look at the next one. The next one is not in our slope intercept form. So we need to determine what that is. So we need our slope, and then we also need to know what that b is of this equation so we can graph it easier. So let's start off with 2x plus y equals negative 2. So we're going to subtract 2x from both sides. And we get y to equal negative 2x minus 2. Now, our slope is negative 2. Our perpendicular slope is going to be positive 1/2. So let's find out what our b is of our new equation. We're going to take our point and take our new slope. So we're going to have y equals mx plus b. Our y is negative 4. Our new slope is 1/2. Our x is 0. And we're going to solve for b. 1/2 times 0 is 0, so we have negative 4 equaling our b. So our new equation is going to be y equals our new slope of 1/2 x minus 4. So let's graph our first line. So our first line in slope intercept form is what we first solved. So we're going to start at negative 2 on the y-axis, and we're going to go down to the right 1, or go up to the left 1. Let's draw our line. And then we are going to graph the second line. We're going to start at negative 4. Then we're going to go up 1 to the right 2. Up 1 to the right 2. And we're going to draw that line. And these two lines are perpendicular to each other. They're going to hit right at a 90-degree angle. Now I want you to do the last one here by yourself, so pause the video, and once you're finished, come back and check your work. Okay, let's check it. Let's change our equation to slope intercept form. So we have 2x minus 3y equals negative 6. So subtract 2x from both sides. We get negative 3y equaling negative 2x minus 6. Divide everything by negative 3. So we get y to equal positive 2/3 x plus 2. Now, our slope for this equation is 2/3. Our perpendicular slope is negative 3/2. So let's find what our y-intercept is for our new equation. So we're going to start with y equals mx plus b. Our y is 3. It's going to equal our new slope of negative 3/2 times our x of negative 2. And we're going to solve for our b. So negative 3/2 times negative 2 gives us a positive 3. Bring down everything else as is. We're going to subtract 3 from both sides. So we're going to get b to equal 0. So we have our new equation. It's going to be y equals our slope, new slope though, of -3/2 x plus 0, but we don't need to put plus 0. So let's graph our first equation. We are going to start at +2, and we're going to rise 2 to the right 3. We're going to go down 2 to the left 3. And draw our line. And then we're going to draw our second line. So we have -3/2 x, and then our b was 0. So we're going to start at our y at our origin of 0. And then we are going to go down 3 to the right 2. So down 3 to the right 2. Or we can go up 3 to the left 2. Draw your line. And now we have 2 lines that are perpendicular to each other. So that is your lesson on parallel and perpendicular lines. Please reach out if you have any questions.